Phlebas the Phoenician, a fortnight dead, forgot the cry of gulls and the deep sea swell and the profit and loss. A current under sea picked his bones in whispers. As he rose and fell, he passed the stages of his age and youth, entering the whirlpool. Gentile or Jew, O you who turn the wheel and look to windward, consider Phlebas, who was once handsome and tall as you. Death by Water is a very short poem, and one that, though few in words, makes a valuable contribution to the collection. Today I will be presenting on T.S. Eliot's Death by Water, Part 4, in The Wasteland. Stretching a span of 10 lines, we hear of the fate of a man who apparently dies by drowning. And we know that he has been dead for 2 weeks. This can be justified by the title of the poem, which says Death by Water, and it helps us to understand how things went down. So the same way we would say death by gunshot or fatal illness, you guys get the point. This character, whose name is given to us as Phlebas the Phoenician, I hope I got that right, becomes more than just a unfortunate statistic in the headlines of a newspaper. But he takes on the lead role in Elliot's attempt to present a vivid and chilling cautionary tale which highlights the most prominent theme in the poem, mortality. Phlebas' demise is used to set the reader's mind on edge, causing them to consider the inescapable depth of mortality and the literal frailty of our bodies. Some vivid imagery to support this can be seen in lines 4 to 5, as we're made privy to the effects of moving water on his lifeless body. A current under sea picked his bones in a whisper. This personified movement of the water as his carcass rots away. This theme is further cemented in lines 8 to 10, which sort of drives home Elliot's cautionary motive towards his reader as he turns his attention to us with Gentile or Jew, O you who turn the wheel and look windward, consider Phlebas, who was once as handsome and tall as you. It is with these words that Elliot begins to challenge the reader's thoughts towards his own view of mortality. The motives that drive us as humans, the things that we hold dear to us in this world. O you who turn the wheel and look windward, suggests that, like Phlebas, we all have our deep desires that we intend to fulfill, uncharted paths that we want to take on in life, and so much more. Yet, in an instant, can be cut short by the blades of death and mortality. And so, drowning, in this instance, not only acts as a tragic end, but becomes symbolic of what happens to these desires. They drown with us, flushed. Similar to the whirlpool effect that is mentioned in the poem, and oddly enough, it reminds me of how the toilet works. Elliot gives his reader a call to action, to consider Phlebas, a man who similarly possessed aspirations to continue on his voyage at his own pace, but was plucked up by death. It is also with these words that Elliot criticizes this universal indulgence in vanity. Phlebas, who obviously is a tall and handsome guy, did not have those attributes considered by death, and it certainly will not be the same case for us. So we can indeed agree that there is no reward for life lived in vanity and self-indulgence, nor does death make any exceptions for anybody's status or physical beauty. For the final portion of my analysis, I wish to highlight the biblical perspectives in this piece, which further supports Elliot's theme of mortality. So in line 8, Elliot makes this intentional specification of two categories of humans, Gentiles or Jews. This reference, I believe, further challenges the reader to consider that death neither makes exceptions for anyone's religious beliefs or spiritual allegiance. The Jewish people, as a whole, initially called Hebrews, Ephraim, were known as Israelites, Yisraelim, from the time of their entrance into the Holy Land to the end of the Babylonian exile. Now, a Gentile is a person who is not Jewish, and the word stems from the Hebrew term goy, which means a nation, and was applied both to the Hebrew and to any other nation. Now, I believe that this biblical context would not be complete without the mention that, though specified as two separate nations, there is a profusely established common ground between both titles. How? Through the divine atonement in the person of Jesus Christ for all man's sins, and promises the gift of eternal life. Now, I think this makes a good contribution, because even though it slightly criticizes Elliot's approach towards death and mortality, it still does not contradict it. So this reference, on the contrary, supports Elliot's stance that the death of the physical body, no matter how grotesque, is inescapable, despite the hope of an eternal life, according to the Christian religion. Death by water is a solid representation of the quick, invasive, and I guess you could say unorthodox character of death. It reminds me of something that I read in a book once that said that there is no promise, it's not written anywhere, that we will all die at a very old age as a sweet old man or woman in our beds or in a hospital surrounded by our children and grandchildren, nieces, nephews, other relatives and friends, right? We have no control of how or when we go. Phlebas, the Phoenician, a character whose very title captures how we can easily become a memory laid in distant past, teaches us a valuable lesson through Eliot's rich, parabolic language and form. And interestingly, it neither gives us instructions as to how we should live, but it helps to keep our minds or keep our eyes open to the uncertainties of life. Overall, I found this poem to be a very good read. I really enjoyed looking at the theme of mortality. It is a topic that is very relatable and close to home, and is one that I think I will, definitely remember more often. So this is my presentation, everyone. Thank you so much for listening.